Greetings, fellow idiots. We're back again with Gertrude and Alice, and as you can see, Gertie's looking a bit down in the dumps today. Gertie's looking a bit down in the dumps. Generally speaking, throughout her life, Gertrude Stein was, a pretty chipper individual, particularly when it came to her sense of self and her work. Stein, as we know, had a very strong Enneagram 8 belief in her own genius. And this confidence often translates, or at least translated for her, into a sort of resilient, upbeat attitude, especially in the face of challenges or criticism regarding her writing, of which there were many. But on the whole, nothing much would really get Gertie down, Max. One famous incident from her life revolved around her final exam at Radcliffe College, where she was a student in the great William James's psychology class. She worked under him on his experiments on normal and induced motor automatism, his explorations of stream of consciousness, and the significance of repetitive speech, which would, of course, in very interesting ways, lay the groundwork for Stein's later preoccupations and prose style. So during this final exam, instead of answering the questions that William James had set, Stein is said to have written the following short note on her exam paper before leaving. Dear Professor James, I am so sorry, but really I do not feel a bit like doing an examination paper in philosophy today. And the story goes that James was so tickled by Gertie's chutzpah that the next day a postal card arrived from William James himself reading, Dear Miss Stein, I understand perfectly how you feel. I often feel like that myself, and, awarding her the highest grade in the course. Freud famously declared that if we can find some fulfillment in our work lives and in our love lives, we might count ourselves both lucky and somewhat contented, as well as being able, for the most part, to deal with everything else that life throws at us. Gertrude Stein met Alice B. Toklas on September the 8th, 1907 in Paris, and I'm going to do a whole video on that meeting at some point, as it really set the template for their relationship thereafter. This meeting marked the beginning of a lifelong partnership that would deeply influence both women's lives and work. That's what you're interested in, yes? I know, you're interested in the batshit. It's not the peanut butter. It's not 100% peanut butter. It's not 100% nuts. It's batshit. In terms of work, Gertie's unwavering confidence in her own genius and surrounding herself with other people, especially Alice, who steadfastly supported her on this front, always, covered those bases for her, even before the work itself truly gained recognition. And of course, as soon as Alice came into her life, the love side of things would be pretty much sorted too. Yay Gertie, yay Alice. But Gertie's love life, up until meeting Alice in 1907, was not a particularly smooth affair, especially considering her strong and often challenging Enneagram 8 personality style. Oh, I've got batshit all over my hands. And now I'm going to put her on you. After graduating from Radcliffe in 1898 at the age of 24, Gertie enrolled at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, which had become one of the nation's first medical schools to accept women students, thanks to the vision of local railroad heiress, what's her name? Mary Elizabeth Garrett, whose $300,000 donation, 11 million in today's money, at the time, to the school stipulated that women be finally admitted and judged on the same basis as men. William James himself had recommended that Gertrude apply, advising her that a medical education opens all doors. So, she and her brother Leo decided to set up housekeeping at 215 East Biddle Street. And at this point, both her parents were already dead. Her father, Daniel Stein, of cancer in 1891. Her mother, Amelia Kieser Stein, passing away from an illness just 1 year later. So the Steins, Gertie and Leo, situated themselves in Baltimore within easy walking distance of the campus, and Gertrude commenced her medical studies. And she did pretty well for the first 2 years, passing classes in anatomy, histology, pathology, bacteriology, physiology, chemistry, pharmacology, and toxicology, I suppose. As a woman, she invariably faced the additional hurdle of endemic sexism from male professors and classmates. The female students were often dismissively called hen medics by their male peers and were expected to do all the, cleaning up after lab experiments, as well as charged with making and colorizing anatomical models of the brain, which was a job considered, beneath the dignity of men. But again, Gertrude, being a resilient, determined, pretty indomitable character, took this in her stride, Maxie Jacks. And she initially attended to specialize in nervous disorders in women, but soon found that she could abide neither childbirths, the school required a set number of bedside attendances at those, nor visits to the local hospital for the insane. Peanuts, 100% nuts. If you're looking for, touchy-feely, heart-driven compassion, it's probably best not to look for that in an 8 or a 7 for that matter, in my experience. And Gertrude, as an 8-wing 7, was generally down for the good times, but not really up for other people's, whiny, emotional stuff. Increasingly, Gertrude lost interest in her studies, largely because she had discovered a more captivating interest in the shape of Mary Bookstaver. Alice, forgive me, Alice, I know you are also quite jealous. You're an SP2, Enneagram 2, but I will keep, the before meeting you stuff as brief as possible. But I think it's important for us idiots to bear this in mind. So, while studying at Johns Hopkins, Gertrude only had eyes for Mary Bookstaver. Don't listen, Alice, don't listen. I do wonder if having the word book in her surname gave her an added intellectual and sort of, literary attractive edge. Mary, usually called May, was a central figure in Gertie's Baltimore friendship group. And it would seem that the romantically inexperienced young Gertie fell pretty hard for May, apparently not realizing that she was already involved with another woman named Mabel, it gets confusing, yes, Mabel Haynes, who was intensely possessive and passionate, a bit like you, creating a complicated love triangle that ultimately left Gertrude feeling rejected and disillusioned. Oh, poor Gertie. In her autobiographical first novel, QED, written 2 years after the events described, Gertrude recounted the intricate twists and turns of this romance. May Bookstaver, who in QED is called Helen, she refers to as the American version of the handsome English girl, determined, a trifle brutal, and entirely impersonal, a woman of passions but not of emotions, capable of long-sustained action, incapable of regrets. Which, of course, is the perfect description of Gertrude herself. Our romantic interests are, generally speaking, composed of about, 90% projected fantasy, 10% curiosity, with the projected fantasy part usually based somewhat narcissistically on our own self-esteem qualities, to be fair. On my first date with my last beloved, she remarked, being an Enneagram 9, just how peaceful, accommodating, easygoing and harmonious she found this idiot to be, which of course were all just traits that her own identity and personality style had been constructed around, and which is why I got the Evo shortly thereafter. QED, this novel Gertrude wrote to try and work through her feelings about May, presents the dynamics between the three women involved in this love triangle with a kind of, cold detachment, we could say, reflecting Gertrude's attempt to process her emotions through the act of writing. That's what writing's for. The narrative ends, as it did in real life, with a kind of unresolved deadlock. Both Helen, which is her name for May in the novel, and Mabel, whose name was not changed in this roman à clef, take that, Mabel, eventually move on, these two women eventually move on to marry men, poor fools, while the character Adele, who is Gertrude, is left to deal with the emotional aftermath, reflecting Stein's own feelings of rejection and despair following these events. Poor Gertie. Of all the ups and downs in Gertie's life, this one left her fairly depressed, and it also contributed to her losing all remaining interest in medical school. She subsequently failed her 4 senior level classes and was sort of recommended, or rather not recommended, for a degree by the 7-man faculty committee. When a female classmate, Marion Walker, pleaded with her to remember the cause of women and keep on trucking, Gertrude responded somewhat tersely, "You don't know what it's like to be bored, Marion." And if we can say anything about Gertrude Stein as an Enneagram 8-wing 7 idiot as opposed to a genius writer, it's that 7 and 8s have a ridiculously low tolerance for boredom, about the same tolerances as we all now, us 21st century humans of any personality stripe, have, thanks to our dopamine-fueled digital distractions, he says, looking at his phone. Gertrude had an even lower level of tolerance for others' indecision, weakness, or emotional neediness, unless that emotional neediness, as was the case with Alice, was deeply intertwined with a shared sense of purpose and loyalty, allowing Stein to channel her protective instincts and invest in a relationship that complemented her own drive and ambition. 8s are often likened to mafia dons. If you're loyal to them, if you serve them well, as Alice did, and do their bidding as requested, as Alice did, they will take a bullet for you and they will guard you with the ferocity of an Old Testament deity. But cross them in any shape or form, and you might just find yourself wearing cement shoes and, swimming with the fishes in the River Seine. And if you have a parent like that, as I do, my father, you will recognize this description and probably, refer henceforward to this individual using the T word. Even though it's just standard 8 idiocy, as I've discovered with him. Standard 8 idiocy. Standard 8 idiocy. So, at this point, Gertie, alongside brother Leo, leaves Baltimore and America, this is in the autumn of 1903, and doesn't return for 31 years. But that's not what we're here for today, ladies. Not really, right? What we're here for today is to do something that I know Alice is going to be perfectly cool with, maybe even enjoy, but which Gertie, I'm sorry Gertie, will probably hate, and that is being tied down. Although I think she was into it in the bedroom, but, that's another story. We'll get to that. So, as I've explained in the previous video, I'm trying to increase the number of bud growing sites on these ladies and also wanted to maximize sunshine exposure to those sites by using a horticultural method called low stress training, which involves gently, or even not so gently, when it comes to Gertrude, you love it really, bending, securing the branches to create a more even canopy. Now, as Gertie and Alice are just about to start flowering, you can just start to see those little shoots starting. This week is really the last time in the growing season that I'll be able to do this, because once they start producing the good stuff, they will need all of their energy focused on that. And any bending, twisting, whatever, is just going to stress them out. No flowers, or crappy flowers. Flowering hemp plants, or plants about to flower, usually require a little bit more potassium in their diet than those in the vegging stages. So, for this reason, I've also been brewing up this morning some... Look at this, delicious. Look at the color on this, it's beautiful. Some potassium tea from banana peels, which are rich in potassium, thus perfect for giving my favorite couple that extra little nourishing boost that they will need to thrive and blossom. You could, of course, use a commercially available nutrient mix or even an eye-wateringly expensive tonic from a specialty shop. But I like the idea of feeding my girls on the stuff that I would like to eat and drink, and I think they enjoy eating and drinking, as hemp plants, seaweed, batshit, and of course banana tea. So here's the delicious brew ready to be added to my batshit and seaweed mix, and then we'll pep you girls up with a feed and some tea before tying you down. Da 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 da. Okay, so musical preferences, ladies, as I add this mixture. Max, you can't drink this because it's got, well, you could drink the banana stuff, but not the batshit. Not the batshit. Mine. But what are we going for, music-wise, ladies? Where's my phone? Oh really? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Bananarama, sure. Well, of course, Cruel Summer. Of course. Of course, let's do it. Let's do it. Hang on. Ooh, okay. Mine. I know you love the smell of that. I know you love the smell of that. Love the smell, but cruel summer. Here we go. 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Let's do it.